So, welcome to Two Expats Abroad. It's been a while. Well, it feels like it's been a while. How are you, Kieran?
Yeah, I'm good. Not seen you for at least a week.
At least a week. Yeah. And I thought today that we'd talk about decision making and some of the pitfalls that come upon people when, being indecisive and, bowing to perfectionism. That's a big one. And I thought we could discuss some of the big decisions that we've made in our lives. What sees us here in Poland, not being from here?
Yeah, I think that was probably one of the biggest decisions in my life. I'd imagine it was for you as well.
Yeah, definitely.
One of. There's many, isn't there? But like moving abroad doesn't, I guess you could say it doesn't come easily, but for me at least, it very much did. And I think that's a beautiful thing about decision making is it doesn't have to be a long drawn out process. It can just be an in the moment decision as well. So honestly, some of the best decisions I've made have been very much just in the moment. What about yourself?
Yeah, like decision. I've never really thought about it as a thing before I started coaching, but I suppose you become aware of these things when you make bad decisions, and I definitely made a lot of bad decisions in my previous life, but definitely moving to Poland was one of the biggest decisions.
And best?
And probably the best, yeah. Like if I look back, I think, why the hell didn't I move over here sooner? But, hindsight is 2020. We don't all have the, benefit of perfect decision-making. And perfect decision-making actually doesn't exist. And I thought we'd get into that today. So I might just tell a little bit about why we moved to Poland. Obviously, my girlfriend is Polish. And during COVID, it was, how would you say, it was less than an optimal situation in Ireland at the time. And because I value freedom a lot, and you aren't allowed outside of your house without permission from the Gardaí, which is the police force, for the most part, I felt trapped. And I was like, what is it like living over in Poland? And because, the family and friends could be asked here, we discovered that it was way freer here. So in the summer of 2021, we decided, let's pack our bags and get the hell out of Ireland. We moved over. And
did you find that it was the case when you arrived that there was a lot more freedom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the only...
Because I came after COVID. COVID was still lingering, but by the time I got to Poland, it was maybe 18 months after its kind of peak. So I didn't experience what you probably experienced.
Yeah, you have to understand, in Ireland, they locked down everything. It was the longest and most harsh lockdown in all of Europe, all of the world maybe.
How did it, because I always think that you're very well versed with British media, Irish media, and then probably world media as well. Like, how would you say it compared from friends that you've got in Britain, Ireland and Poland? Like, obviously you're saying that Ireland was one of the worst in Europe. How far off was it in Britain, for example?
You guys had a little bit more freedom, although saying that they arrested people in Derbyshire for swimming in the water, in the sea, like...
How dare they?
God, ridiculous. But those sort of things were happening in Ireland as well. People were getting arrested for, just going for a walk. Or
Seriously?
Being a little bit outside of their 5 kilometre radius. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think I heard about that in the UK. Like, the rules would be in place, but I felt that a lot of people were breaking them, and there wasn't really any... It didn't seem like there was any arrests or anything like that. So I feel quite grateful that although we had very little freedom, it sounds that it was even worse in Ireland, which makes sense as to why you went and sought something different.
Yeah, no, it was a no-brainer to get over here. And then when we did get here, it was like a different world. You could, go to a bar. You didn't have to have all these, mandated vaccine passports and all this ridiculousness.
Eat out to help out. So he wasn't encouraging people to eat out because it just was never a thing where they was locked in completely.
Yeah, exactly. They respected people's freedom to decide for themselves if they wanted to go out and take a risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was bliss when I got here. You know, the only annoying thing was you had to wear a mask on a tram, but they got rid of that after a few months. That was gone.
Yeah, by the time we got here, that had gone quite a bit before the UK. And I think that's what it boils down to, isn't it, really, is like personal risk. And I know that then there's obviously risk to others as well. There's common courtesy and common respect in terms of if you've got a bit of a niggling cough. I even think nowadays, if you've got a bit of a niggling cough and you're on a tram,
just keep it to yourself. You know, don't be coughing in other people's faces.
Yeah. But I guess that's, common sense, which unfortunately isn't always so common, and they feel that need to put rules in place. But yeah, so you experienced a nicer environment when you landed here.
Yeah, it was just like night and day.
Yeah. How quick was that decision? If we're talking about decision making,
so in 2020, it just kept getting worse and worse, and you could see other countries, not doing any of these draconian measures, and we were looking at it going, this is horrendous. This is the worst place to be right now for this. So over the course of, I'd say from December 2020 to March 2021, we said, right, let's just get out of here. And we made all the preparations. Our friends here found a place for us to stay, and easy. Got here, everything
December
was...
to March is 4 months.
Yeah.
In that process, are you thinking...
I'm communicating with a load of Polish people and talking to them about their experience compared to what mine was, and it was just easy decision for me. Obviously, my partner had a good job, and she was like... She didn't really want to leave, I was more like, let's get out of here.
I think it's really important to add that, because for men, well, I've been here about 3 years now, and in the first year, I definitely had family members and friends that were like, are you under the thumb? Yeah. Or like, has Martina dragged you there? And I was like, no, I'm there off my own free will. Like, I absolutely love being here. And at the time, I loved it, and I love it even more with every single passing kind of day, week, month. And it's funny that your partner, who is Polish, actually wanted to stay in Ireland, and it was you that was seeking more freedom. And
yeah, at the end, obviously, she did want to go as well, because I can't emphasize enough how bad it was in Ireland.
Yeah.
So delighted now, both of us delighted to be here,
and just to kind of focus back in on that 4-month period. Your partner's got a great job, confident that she could land a position when she got here. What about yourself? Like, did you have to change anything in your working environment to make it possible?
Like there's a few little niggly business arrangements that you have to make. The laws are different a little bit for business and whatnot. So there's a couple of things that you have to change there, but nothing that's going to make you say no way.
Was you already working massively remote? I mean, it was middle of COVID.
Yeah, mostly remote. There was a couple of clients that I had to say, listen, I'm not going to be available to meet you anymore. And, that was just what you got to do.
I think that's one of the most beautiful things about that period during COVID, was the fact that a lot of workforces were forced to be remote, and people were more open-minded to having, and I know that you're self-employed and you was a coach at the time, so you kind of made your own decisions, but I think for the people that are employed in the modern world now, that there is no reason why they couldn't be abroad if they wanted to be. It just comes down to making kind of that decision, looking at the pros and cons, and taking the leap. Like, for me, I knew that I could always go back to the UK, so I had the business at the time, but I was also employed 3 days a week, I think. So I had to speak with them, and I said, this is our thoughts, this is what we're wanting to achieve, this is potentially where we see our future, but we don't know until we've tried it. And it's incredible how open my employer was at the time, and I think I would have still gone in a way because I had the business, but it was a case of, well, if he allows me, then it makes that transition easier because I've still got some employed income coming through. So yeah, anybody that's considering it, like, don't be afraid of asking your employer. I'm considering spending 3 months abroad this year. I want to work remotely, like I do 3 days a week in a way. how about we extend that to 5 days a week for a trial period of say 12 weeks and
There is a couple of annoying legal issues with that in terms of tax and stuff like that. So some companies are a little bit resistant to allow their employees to leave the country because you have to be in the jurisdiction that you're earning sometimes. Yeah. So that's a little bit annoying for some companies. But it's very interesting to look back on all that period. And I know that we're getting a little bit off topic, but some of the huge companies and their buildings are empty, and they're struggling now to get people back into the building because they've gotten used to remote work.
Talking about decision making, I don't think that was a decision that served the masses. I think that being in those office buildings that were built for office workers, I think that is the most natural way to do work. Like, I know, speaking for myself, like when I've been in employed positions, remote, it's really difficult to connect with people. And I think that, obviously I know that that's not necessarily the point of the episode, but connection's another thing that's really struggling. Society's struggling through lack of genuine connections. People, can't get off of these things.
Yeah. It's a problem.
It's a problem. But we might get that into that in another episode.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Tell us a little bit about your decision to move over here.
I actually enjoy telling this story. I don't know if I've told it on a previous episode, but ultimately Martina was coming home from work upset. She came home upset a few times, and I said, doesn't need to be this way. Like, there's many employers out there that would treat you better and would treat you right. I said, and I don't know what came over me, but I just said, if there was one thing that you could do tomorrow, what would it be? And she said, move to New York. And I was like, that's not possible, is it? Or, I mean, maybe it was, but it felt not possible at the time. So I said, okay, what's the second thing that you'd do if you could and if it was possible? And she said, move to Poland. And I was like, seriously? Like, she'd never said that before. So I was like, what makes you say that? Like, why do you want to move back to Poland, essentially? She'd spent 15 years, maybe more, in England. So I said, okay, like, let's talk about it. And we did. And then we thought, right, okay, let's do the 90 days, which is another subject. But obviously UK left the EU, so now we're only allowed a maximum of 90 days in every 180 in the Schengen zone.
Boo.
Which is a controversial subject, which has caused me many, many headaches. But we knew that we had 90 days. So we was like, right, okay, cool. Go to Poland for 90 days. We'll try it. We'll speak to, I had an employer at the time. Martina left hers and kind of just was working within our business and supporting one of her old employers. So she was kind of semi-freelance at the time. So I was like, let's have the difficult conversations. Let's try it. Let's do the 90 days. We did it. We went to Warszawa, Gdańsk, Wrocław.
Nice.
And then we came to Poznan for one night, I think, on the way out, because Martina's got family here. And we're just driving around and we're like, yeah, it's not bad this. Like, next time we come, we'll try this. And then went back to the UK. So ours was just a trial period, 12 weeks. Came back to the UK, tried to buy a house, tried to settle down in the UK. And that was proving difficult. We just kept getting, it was at the time the property market was crazy. Like, everybody was just gazumping each other with offers. And as an investor, I didn't want to get into that game. Like, I wanted to find a bargain, renovate it. And
so that's a blessing in disguise, maybe.
Yeah. We put about 6 offers in on 6 different properties. All of them got turned back. And I came home one day from coaching. I used to coach football, a football team, for the Irish and English listeners and Polish listeners. So I came home piss wet through, and I mean drenched. And I thought, do I actually love coaching that much? Like, more than potentially chasing a new adventure. So I said to Martina, I said, we've been back in the UK for 5 months now, and I'm not sure I'm loving it. I wouldn't say that I'm enjoying it anywhere near as much as I enjoyed Poland. Should we go back? And Martina was like, what? We're putting offers in on houses, like we're planning to settle down. And I said, no, like I want to go and experience living there, like living there properly, not just traveling from city to city. So why don't we give Poznan a try? So
why Poznan?
We'd not tried it, first and foremost. So we'd tried 3 or 4 other major cities. Martina's got family members kind of there or thereabouts in Poznan. So it kind of, her hometown, Mierzyniec, which I hope I've just pronounced well.
You're getting a few, so I imagine.
Yeah, so Mierzyniec is about an hour and a half away. So it felt like a sensible city to potentially try. We came, booked an Airbnb for a month, and we've never left. Literally never left in 2.5 years.
Yeah, it's so good here, isn't it?
Yeah, no, like I can't put my finger on why. Like I did a video the other day and it went, you know, fairly. A lot of people have seen it and a lot of people have commented saying, why Poland? Why not the UK? And I'd say the biggest thing for me is true seasons. So you've got a true winter season where you can go skiing if you want to. You've got a true summer season where you can go on the beach and sunbathe.
Yeah.
Can't do that in the UK. And then there's so many. I was chatting to somebody yesterday. There's so many free activities in the summer as well. Like literally, we saw one of the biggest Polish bands and artists, Agnieszka. I forgot her surname. But Agnieszka, we saw her about an hour and a half away. Cost us £5 on the train for free. She's one of the biggest stars. And she's brilliant. I really, really enjoyed it. And you just don't get that in the UK. Imagine going and seeing Ed Sheeran for free in the summer.
Yeah, that's...
Or Coldplay. Or I'm trying to think of other British... Adele. Just wouldn't happen.
No.
I don't know if it... What about Ireland?
No. There's never any free gigs.
Yeah. I've just spent the whole day in a co-working space for free. Like to encourage entrepreneurship and encourage like young startup businesses.
Yeah, it's a great place.
It's amazing. Like that again wouldn't exist
in plug.
Yeah, definitely. Plus Yedden. But that just wouldn't exist in the UK. And if it does, then please let me know because I'm back there in in a few weeks' time. But I don't think a free co-working space happens unless you're buying a coffee and a bit of food or you're a member of a bank.
Yeah, I think it's subsidised by the government though, which is another issue. Maybe.
But good that it exists.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that was it really. In terms of decision making, there was a very much in the moment decision. We tried it, we came back, and then it was probably more contextual. It was more like pros and cons. We've tried one, we've tried the other. Which did we enjoy the most? And that probably took us a little bit longer because Martina was still in shock that I wanted to.
Yeah, that's interesting.
To move back.
And what were the things that you can think about? I'm just thinking about the way Jeff Bezos does his risk minimization sort of thing. You know, when he's making decisions, he goes, will I regret this when I'm 80 if I don't do it? So for you...
I've never come across that before. Is that his kind of model?
Yeah. So for you, is there any was there anything that you said to yourself, if I don't do this, if I don't move and give this a go, I'll regret? Or
for me, it's just new experiences. Like I would regret not saying yes to a new experience. I always have done. Like it's cliche, but what is the worst that can happen? Like I come back to where I'm from and do the same thing that I've always done. That's fine. I enjoy it. I'm proud to be from Oldham, proud to be English, absolutely love the country, but there was loads of upside and no downside really.
Yeah.
So that was my decision and that's how I came to it. So yeah.
Yeah, that is nice. I like that. There's a couple of different strategies for decision making. What I like to do with my clients is give them a decision making matrix, which means you lay out all of the different variables that are involved in a decision, right? There's environmental decisions, there's people decisions, there's resource decisions. There's all of these different variables that you have to put on the table and you have to see all of it in front of you before you can say, okay, I'm going to go in this direction or this direction. And there's a book called Thinking in Bets by a woman called Annie Duke, which is very interesting. So she was a poker player, and she thinks in terms of percentages and seeing things in terms of, well, if I make this percentage play, what's the likelihood of a good outcome? And if it's 70%, 70% is usually the Goldilocks number to go.
In poker and in her kind of matrix.
Yeah.
I just take some notes because I'm playing poker later.
So if you hit that 70% likelihood that it's a good decision, usually there won't be that regret energy after making the decision. Over time, if you keep hitting that metric, you'll generally end up on the good side, which makes sense, right?
Yeah. So that one's Thinking in Bets. Thinking in Bets. I've not come across that one before.
Annie Duke, yeah.
But I like it. There was wasn't there another one that you always mention, like is it 5 second rule or something?
Oh yeah, that's Mel Robbins. Yeah, so she talks about when you're making a decision, when you find yourself stuck in indecision, count down from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just change your environment, stand up, shake yourself off, and get yourself out of that indecision. Because what happens is when we remain in indecision, it's just stress energy. It's like you go nowhere really fast and you just make yourself worse and stress yourself out. So it's a really good little thing to remember, that if you're in that indecision, which is, the fog, it's dark, just do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And do you have to make a decision at the end of that?
No, you don't have to make a decision. You just have to stop focusing on that thing that you're focusing on, because it's not going anywhere. It's not productive use of your time.
Yeah. I might need to genuinely take that one down, because honestly, I really struggle to make the most minutiae decisions. Like, do you want a brew? Martino will say, oh, do you want a brew? And I'm like, do I? Honestly, I think about it for about 5 minutes. She gets really annoyed at me, which is fair enough, because it's just simple yes or no. Do you want a brew or do you not want a brew?
And what are you considering?
I don't know. I think for me, I don't know if it's the question of do you want a brew, or if it's because I'm making lots of other micro and major decisions in my day that I'm just like, at that moment when she's asked me, I'm just exhausted.
So that is a thing. Have you ever heard of decision fatigue? This is why people like Bill Gates and what's your man from Apple?
Steve
Jobs. They used to wear like just black bottoms and a white top or whatever it was, because if you front end your day with a lot of decisions, like what will I wear today, that is a decision. And if you think of your amount of decisions you have to make in a day, it's like a power bar on a computer game, like Tekken or Street Fighter. The more decisions you have to make is, lowering your energy bar for decisions. So if you can take decisions off the table through strategizing and creating just habits so that you don't have to make those decisions, you're more likely to have more energy to make good decisions throughout your day. Do you want a brew? Yeah.
See, I can get behind that, because I've seen that a few times where these, very successful people, entrepreneurs, whatever, they wear, like you say, they've almost got a work uniform and they wear it Monday through Friday, and then they'll be the same the following week. I can get behind that. I've done it in moments, but I wish I could do it more often. In fact, you heard it here first.
There you go.
The next amount of, podcast episodes that we film, I'm going to wear the same thing. Work uniform.
I like it.
Because then I can say yes to a brew.
It makes sense to me.
No, but it makes sense, doesn't it? Like I can get behind that as a concept, because I've thought about it a few times when I've heard it on interviews or in articles, but committing to it is the other thing. So just committed in public.
There you go. And I'm going to hold your feet to the fire with that.
Yeah. Is there anything else you wanted to kind of speak about from a decision?
Yeah, like a lot of the reason that people stay stuck and, don't make a decision on something that's important is because a lot of the time there is a sunk cost that people, oh, but I've spent 6 years doing this law degree. You know, that's 6 years wasted if I walk away now. It's like, well, yeah, if you take that sort of logic, you're going to waste another 6 years of your life in misery. And do people really want to do that? You know, you've already lost 6 years of your life. That's the sunk cost fallacy. And a lot of people are making that all across. You know, they're staying in relationships, they're staying in jobs they hate. They're making the same bad health decisions for themselves because this is just the way I always do it.
Yeah. It's interesting that you bring up law, because I've got a very good friend actually that was, you know, went through those kind of 7 years, got a placement, which is one of the most difficult things to do once you've graduated in law. And within about 18 months of that placement, called it a day, left the legal practice and started working for himself. And it's only because you bring that up then, that is an incredible story. Like most people, they've committed so many years to the legal industry, if you want to call it that. I could totally understand why they'd feel, you know, that sunk cost fallacy that you just mentioned. I can understand it, but not when the upside elsewhere is potentially so huge. And that's what a good friend of mine did, and fair play. Like, I've only just thought about it now, but what a huge decision that must have been for him.
When I was leaving the post office, a lot of people were saying, Rob, you're mad. Why are you leaving?
Yeah.
And it was like they're coming from their own sunk costs, because like they've probably been there 10, 15 years, whatever.
Pensions.
And they're thinking, but it's a great pensionable job.
Yeah.
And it's like they don't have my values or my perspective or, you know, what I'm going on to do. So it makes sense that they would say that. But for me, it was a no-brainer. It's like, I have to leave. This is destroying my soul if I stay here.
And I think it's looking at the upside and, you know, mitigating risk, like you said earlier. What did you say that your man from Amazon, Jeff Bezos, says?
Bezos. It's risk minimization. So like, look, will I regret this at 8 years of age?
Will I regret this at 8 years of age?
If I don't do it.
Then, go for it.
Exactly. It's a really good perspective to have. Look at when you're 80 years of age, you know, is there a feeling that there's going to be a sense of regret? And if there is, well, that tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah, definitely. I think that probably rounds up the decision making.
I think it does.
We've broken down the two most major decisions that we've ever probably made.
Yeah.
And, you know, mentioned a couple of books as well. So there's the Thinking in Bets. Do we have any of them with us today? I don't think we do we?
No. This is a good book, though. The Compound Effect. It by Darren Hardy. I really recommend this book.
And that kind of plays into decision making.
Yeah.
The compound effect of making decisions.
Over time.
Yeah.
All of those decisions, they compound on each other.
Yeah. Like me coming to Poland then compounds with having, you know, a bit more disposable income.
Yeah.
Which then allows us to potentially build a house, buy land. You know, those things are compounded. Whereas if I'd have stayed in that one place, building a house on my own piece of land in the UK is probably going to be very difficult for me.
Exactly. And all the little building blocks of how you build your identity, they all compound on each other. So deciding one day, I'm someone who now reads 10 books a year, right? That can compound on you taking action on those things. Now I'm someone who goes out and I network in, you know, in business.
Yeah.
And all of those meetings then compound to meet people who then open doors, and, you know, all sorts of stuff can happen from those things.
This is really interesting because you've just reminded me of that story, a personal story to me, really. And it's compound effect and it's decision making. So I'm scrolling through Instagram 7 or 8 years ago, and I've seen somebody that I went to university like post about, he'd set up a property page on Instagram. So I was like, how's he got into property at 22, I think it was? I was like, I'm going to message him. So that was a decision made in the moment, messaged him. He was like, oh, I've just come off this course, I'm doing this, I'm selling properties and blah, 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 blah. It was just a logo. It was nothing more than that. It didn't even have a website at the time. So I thought he'd set a property company up. What he'd done was create a brand for himself that was eventually going to be a business. One conversation led to another. Well, 6 months later, he introduces me to his business partner now. So he's connected with somebody through a networking event. I then start sourcing self-employed. So I leave my employed role, which is when I was scrolling through Instagram and messaging him, become self-employed for his business that was just an idea 6 months ago. I meet his business partner at the time, Brad, who's now my business partner in a completely separate business. Brad teaches me everything that I know about property in a space of 18 months, and Jack as well, but it was Brad that I spent the most time with. Then I go off on my own path for a few years in property still, but separate to Jack and Brad. And then 4 years after meeting Brad for the first time, we start buying properties together, raising finance from private investors, you know, working with the banks, building portfolios. And that all came, that's the compound effect in a nutshell. That came from asking one question because I was curious and I thought, how's this geezer got into property at 22? And then he told me. And then we ended up doing something together. And then with his business plan.
That is beautiful.
That is the compound effect in a nutshell.
It's a great book and it's really short. Like you'd read it in a sitting.
Yeah. I literally would not be in Poland had I not asked that question because property made it possible.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
So there we go.
Excellent. Good talk.
Thank you, mate.
Our next episode is going to be a Christmas special. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Are you going to be wearing the...
Why not? You'd have to wear a Christmas jumper.
Yeah, I think I'll get mine out as well. I'll see you next time then.
See you then.